So I'm doing Bible study and my kids lay down to bed early, right? And as I'm doing Bible study, my daughter walks in and comes to my room. Usually my kids know when you're sleeping or, once we put you to bed, you should not be coming out of your room for anything. We might make exceptions as far as like, using the bathroom. Of course, if we're doing it too many times, you get what I'm saying, right? Usually they're pretty good. They go to sleep, no worries. But because we put them to bed earlier twice, and it is the summer, my daughter comes in my room and she's like, the sun's not going down. It's not nighttime yet. And I'm like, it is. It's literally almost 8 o'clock. It's just sunny outside. And she's like, well, I just wanted to come in here and lay with you. Now, back, preface it earlier today. She's like, she just turned 3. So she's like, no, she doesn't really want to take naps anymore. Which my son went through that as well. And she's also getting to the point where it's like my kids, what they do, they test boundaries. And so they're like, oh, mommy has more patience and gives more grace than daddy does. We're going to try mommy, basically. And so that they may not listen as frequently or say if they get in trouble, right? The same thing, me and my husband, we tell our kids, put your hands up and face the wall, right? Put them in timeout. Depending how severe it is, we tell you to hold a plank, hold a squat. You know what I'm saying? Y'all gonna be fit. If y'all don't want to listen, you're gonna be, athletic. So the same punishments, they know what that means. They have a time frame. You're gonna stand with your hands up, hold the wall for 5 minutes, 2 minutes, depending on how, severe the situation is. And how many times we have to keep telling you about it. But when I tell them to do the same punishment and their dad's not there and he's at work, now my daughter is screaming, jumping, kicking, running around the whole house, right? And me, I'm also the parent, which is why they do it. You can express your emotions. You want to cry, cry. I'm type, okay, cry. And I'm gonna wait. And I'll sit there and wait. Sometimes if I feel convicted, I'll touch you, touch your hand to let you know, hey, I'm still here with you. You know what I'm saying? My husband, he's not so much like that. He like, yeah, shut it down. And for me, sometimes I'm like, no, they need to have their emotions. We got a good balance here. It works. It works. So don't be in my comments talking about, oh, he needs to let them kids express their emotions. It works. It works. And so basically, she comes, so she was yelling and screaming earlier today, right? To me, the screaming, stomping, and screaming to the top of your lungs, like I was beating you, that was excessive. And I'm like, yeah, shut it down because you're doing too much at that point. So I did have to call her dad on FaceTime. He answered the phone. He sees what she's doing. And immediately she was like, and she starts running away from him. Like, no, I don't want him to see me. And, he shuts down the situation over the phone. So cool. When he gets home, he handles that. He checks her. And he's like, no, you can't do this. Your mom does everything for you. Yada, yada, yada. So, once again, it's almost 8 o'clock. It's Bible study time. My husband put the kids to bed a little bit earlier so I can get some time to just chill. You know what I'm saying? And my daughter comes in here once again. Getting back to what I'm saying. She comes in here. She says, I just want to lay with you. And I thought about it and I was like, is your big brother asleep? If he's not asleep, I'm like, all right, we'll just go, lay back down because obviously y'all gonna be playing. As long as you're quiet, I'm the type of person, I don't care. Like when my son stopped wanting to take naps, I was like, bro, as long as you're quiet in that room, you want to read a book, I don't care. But, they would take a mile, the grace I gave them and then take it too far. So, but we're not getting on there. I'm like, if your brother's awake, just chill with him. I'm like, is your baby sister awake? And she's like, no. So neither of them were awake. So it's all right. I get it. You like in the middle. Cool. You know what I'm saying? Just come chill with mama, right? And I'm like, all right, but no talking. I am doing Bible study. I'm reading the Bible. And of course, as a Christian mother, I was going to start reading out loud, which I wasn't. I already got gospel music playing, but I was going to start reading out loud because I was reading King James Version and New English Version. And I was going to break it down to her terms where she was understanding. But I was taking notes at that time. So once I finished, I was going to read to her. But then I started thinking, and I was just like, I don't think that you should be in here. Like, I know I give grace, right? And I tell my kids about grace. That's what God gives us. We don't deserve grace. He gives us grace over and over and over again. And, the Bible says, like, 70 times 70 is how much you should forgive a person. But it's different with children. Spare the rod, spoil the child. And the rod is the discipline and the structure. And in a sense, I realized I'm like, nah, I do gotta give some pushback. Like, I can't just be like, oh, you acted the way you acted, your dad handled it. Not cool, you come in here with me. Nah, I gotta stand on business in a sense. Like, it wasn't nothing wrong with her being in here. She was chilling, but at the same time was like, hold on. My oldest son didn't have these privileges. When I can't be more lenient on you. You get what I'm saying? Like, I got multiple kids. If I'm lenient on you, the last one gonna be crazy. Okay? And as the baby of the family, I know, as they get more lenient, the kids get crazier. So I'm like, nah, I can't do that. I'm like, okay, I love you. I pray for her. We did our nightly prayer. I gave her multiple kisses, gave her a hug. I'm like, okay, well, I think you need to go lay down. You need to go back in your room and lay down. Because, it builds character. My son, he used to sit in the room, right? If he didn't go to sleep, say he has to take a nap for 2 hours. Because that's what regular daycare is. You take a nap for 2 hours, 12 to 2, or whatever time it is. Some daycares are 4. But if he didn't take a nap for 2 hours, and I know because I worked in a daycare, if he didn't take a nap for 2 hours, the next day he got to be in that room for 3 hours. And so at first I was like, dang, that's kind of tough. He's sitting in the room for 3 hours, not doing anything. But guess what? My mental peace was intact. I was working from home, so that also helped me to be able to work for those 3 hours. Then if it was during my my lunch or I was off of work, cool, you know what I'm saying? But it also taught my son certain structures, and he is older. He's 5. He's in school, so some things click a little bit differently, obviously, because he's older. Some stuff he doesn't do anymore. But I'm like, for my daughter, you got to go through that too. So if you got to sit there until the sun goes down, my son, he used to hate it. He'd be like, it's not dark outside in the summer. They've had the same bedtime for the most part, 8 o'clock, since forever. But you gonna have to sit there and look at the sun. And then you'd be like, wow, the sun's so beautiful. It builds your imagination. Because guess what? You get to play and learn how to imagine things. And you build a relationship with yourself. And it gives discipline and it lets you know. And I told her, I'm like, I hope you're nicer to me tomorrow because I don't want to have to be so stern with you. I didn't say all that, but that was the gist of what I said. And I mean, she definitely understood after my husband got with her, but yeah, that was really it. Oh, but basically what I was coming to say was that I was like, dang God, I feel so sad, and I feel guilty when I'm like, when I feel like I didn't love her. I feel like in that moment, I didn't give her love, but at the same time, it's like, no, that would have been babying and coddling. And then you would have been back in the same situation in 2 weeks. And it's like, no, you got to be firm a little bit. I was gonna say tofu. Tofu is firm, but then it's still squishy. You know what I'm saying? So it's still lovey. I'm still lovey-dovey. I'm an emotional person. I'm a woman. So my kids know they love me. They still come to me. But when I became firm and I stood behind my husband's decisions and the things that he said and how he disciplined, when it came to my son is a more rounded and put together person. And at first I was like, oh, we're being too tough on them. But it's not tough. It's not even tough love. That's not even tough. I mean, maybe it is for a 3-year-old. Dang, mommy didn't let me be in her room. But it just also shows, I let her in my room. It's and I told her, I'm like, I let you in my room. Your dad, you would have gotten in trouble for leaving your room in the first place and coming all the way over here. And she knew that because she opened the door and closed it. And that's how I knew it was her. That was the win. The AC, it does that. If the door's not fully closed. But, and that's what it gets me too. When I was doing Bible study, I'm like, hold on, because it opened a lot more. And I'm like, low-key, I was scared at first. I'm like, hold on now. But it was just her. And I was like, come here. But yeah, and I guess it just kind of sets that boundary as well. Hey, mommy's super nice to you. I had to stop giving her snacks because I'm not a big snack person. I'm not a big desserts person, but I will make stuff, right? Today, I made carrot cake muffins. Made a healthier version, didn't add any added sugar. I didn't even add brown sugar. I added bananas. I did add some strawberries. You couldn't even really taste it. But it has flaxseed in it. The carrots. It has some it had yogurt on top. And so it was really good. And I didn't feel guilty eating it, so it was a nice dessert. So I do give you snacks, right? But when you do stuff, help me clean up and do more rigorous tasks. And for your age, I gave them incentives as far as food, which another thing God clocked me on, because I am still healing from gluttony. And a lot of times we reward ourselves with food and stuff like that. So I started rewarding her with an episode, because I don't really let my kids watch TV either. You know what I'm saying? Call me a crunchy mom, call me what you want, but I don't really let my kids watch a lot of TV. Anyways, because when they do, they be zombies. They be like, and that could be because they don't watch a lot of TV. Who knows? But when I put on a movie, I put on a classic. Like, I'll put on Shrek, or I'll put on Finding Nemo. Like, I'll put on a movie I want to watch, and that's a classic. That's gonna be a character and has a storyline, and I don't have to discern. Is this a good movie? It was like what? It wasn't Luca. It's a movie that just came out, a little kids movie, and it was talking about aliens and something demonic, but it was subliminal. I don't got time for that. And not a lot of stuff. Even Princess and the Frog. When we watch Princess and the Frog, we've watched it 3 times, and every single time I'm like, But I do tell them, I'm like, Dr. Felicia, that's demonic. I tell them that's demonic. We don't do witchcraft. We don't do, and I tell them that. And I'm like, and then as my kids get older, my 5-year-old, I go deeper and just be like, people don't always know it's demonic or stuff like that. Like today, he was like, oh, I saw a crystal. Probably wasn't. It wasn't a real crystal, but we're going to talk about it. I'm like, listening, like, oh, where'd you find it? Was it on somebody? Was it outside? We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about like what people like, what people don't like. I'm educating, because it was a verse in the Bible. What did it say? My people perish for lack of knowledge. My kid's not going to perish. And the devil is aiming at my children now. And what's the point of me being a stay-at-home mom and I'm not fueling and feeding into them like God has told me to do? This is my ministry, right? Getting back to the basis of what I'm saying, I felt bad about it. I felt like I was neglecting her emotions. And as someone who has felt at sometimes that my emotions were neglected, I am very hyper vigilant, hyper aware on how I treat my children and how other people treat my children and their emotions and what I say, and just like, oh, what's the long-term effects, especially being someone who has a degree in psychology. I really care a lot about that. And I was listening and I was writing down, doing my Bible study, went back to doing my Bible study. And my spirit was like, it's all right. You know what I'm saying? You all right. So I know, like, I'm not going to stress over it. I didn't do anything bad. Like, I know that when I discipline poorly, I keep thinking about it. This one, it was cool. And as I was doing what I was doing, I was listening to the song, what is it? Donnie McClurkin, Yolanda Adams, I believe. This too shall pass. And it was like, it's in his hands. This too shall pass. And it's like, the best thing that I could do for my children is give it to God. Because I prayed, I'm like, Lord, I don't feel good. I feel bad. And after that, I had a calming of the spirit. And I know that's not always like a good thing when your spirit is calm. But this one, I knew what God was saying. And I said the best thing that I could do at times, or all the time, is give it to God. And I pray to God. I'm like, Lord, protect my children when I fall short, in the ways that I'm not protecting them, or the ways that I haven't healed. And so my pride gets in the way of how I should parent them, be with them, fill in those gaps. And the best thing I could do for that situation was pray, because earlier today when she did that, she went to sleep, or she laid down for real, to take a nap. And I cried and I prayed out loud. And God said it didn't, with my son, the same thing happened. It didn't start to change until I started praying about it. I prayed all the time, prayed about everything, but I didn't pray about that. Like when I was mad, when I was upset in that moment, I didn't pray. And then if I did, I'd be like, oh Lord, da, 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 da. No, I didn't, like, Lord, this is this and this is this, and I feel like this because of this. I didn't sit there and pour it out. And when I was pouring it out and worshiping God, he was like, things don't change unless I'm there. And then that also leads me to what I was writing in my Bible verse. It was in Colossians 3. And I'm kind of like doing some things with it. And so it's funny how I landed on this. And it was basically saying, verse 1 was like, you died and your identity is in Christ. So when you see Christ, then you'll get glory. When Christ gets his glory, you'll get glory. And for me, I'm like, Lord, I want you to be everywhere in this house. I want you to be in my children. I want you to be in me, in my marriage. I want you to be in the way that we talk to each other. And it's like, in the situation, if you see God, you'll see yourself. Let me see the correct Bible verse. Who is your life appears, then you will also appear in his glory. So when Christ shows up in the house, then I can show up. I shouldn't be trying to do it. I shouldn't be trying to figure it out. I shouldn't be trying to make it work. If I put Christ there, and if Christ shows up, in that situation, did Christ show up in that situation? Yes, he did. So then I was there. It doesn't make sense when I'm explaining it, but that's all right. It makes sense to how I got it and to how I received it. So yeah, so when I'm out in public, if Christ is not there, I wanted my name to be known. Not known. When I was younger, I did want to be famous. Everybody did. But as I got older, I was like, what would people remember me as? If I died, in high school, I was suicidal. And I wanted to take it on out of here. Which was spiritual warfare at the time. And I knew I had a calling on my life since I was young. Didn't know how deep it was, right? Looking back on it now. But I was always what would people remember me as? And people were always oh, it's nice and stuff like that. That's always what they said. I was sweet. I took care of people. I'm like, yeah, cool. And I still find myself doing that to this day. And I tell him, when I would fold my husband's stuff up, and I'll tell him, I'm like, oh, this is how I fold it. And I'm like, so when I die, you can have a heartbreaking moment and be like, she used to fold my socks like this. I'll never be able to recreate it. You know what I'm saying? I guess I was always kind of planning for my death. I was like, what would you remember me as? And I was in the shower the other day, and I'm like, my husband will have it the best. I might say, I want to be remembered as whatever. But since my husband is my mirror and he knows me the best, whatever he says, in the eulogy, I'm just believing it. If he made up something new that I never heard of before, I'd believe it because he understands me deeper than I understand myself sometimes. Or I said, I don't know how to explain it. Sometimes I think too much, and then he can break it down and vocalize it a little bit better and just be and sometimes it seems no, that's too plain. And it's no, you're so right. That is what it is. Sometimes I just be I'll tell a whole story. This long snippet, and it's gonna look crazy on YouTube because it was meant to be on TikTok. But I wasn't even meant to tell this whole story. But it was God that had me tell the story. For whoever, one or two persons that see it. But I make it so deep, and he would just be it's literally this. And I'd be oh yeah, you're right. You know what I'm saying? You on to something right there. And so basically what I'm saying is I want it to be seen. And God is when they see me, they'll see you. And that's how it should be. And that's how I want it to be. When they see God, they see me. And then when they see me, they see God. When they see me, they see God. And they're oh yeah, she rocked with Christ. Yeah. But that's all I wanted to say. Yeah. Stay up, stay tuned, stay woke. Go on Bible. And stay in that word. And I'll see you in the next video. Hi, my kings and queens. Hi, Bible babes. Hi, beloveds. This is a different type of video because it was meant to be on TikTok, but it was way too long. So it's going to be sideways because I recorded it in portrait instead of landscape. And so just bear with me. Mwah, love you. I had a revelation. So I had a little quarrel with my daughter tonight, and I prayed to God about it really quickly. And I was listening to Yolanda Adams' This Too Shall Pass, and she said, it's in his hands. This too shall pass. After I prayed, and I was oh, I don't have to worry about it. God got it. I handled the situation well, and that's the best thing I can do is handle it well, handle it how I should, and then let it be. And I said the best thing I can do for my children is give it the situation and give them to Christ. And I was so worried. And as parents, we're oh, how are we going to discipline? I find myself praying about what's the best form of discipline. How should I do this? Because spare the rod, spoil the child. Rod is discipline and structure. And when I discipline them, I'm telling you, I'm disciplining you because I love you. And so the best thing that I can do for you is give it to Christ. And I pray about it. Lord, how should I do this? How should I do that? And I was praying earlier today because me and her, this is our second quarrel for the day. And earlier today, after the first situation happened, I was crying and praying. And it's a similar situation that I had with my eldest, with my son, when he was 3 and 4. And God said, the situation didn't start to change until you started praying about it. I pray about everything, right? But I didn't start praying specifically in the moment about those situations. And then I didn't start praying out loud. I prayed out loud so she could hear me. She could hear my frustration in the time, and that I needed a power source, someone greater than myself to handle the situation, someone more powerful than me. And it's like, as a kid, it's like, more powerful than mommy? Daddy? That's how my kids think. Daddy? If not daddy, is it your mom? You know? But no, I needed a higher power source. And it also shows them when it comes time that they can reach out to him. And I tell them, I'm like, oh, you bored? Pray. You this? Pray. And so when I was listening to that song, and in that moment when I had to like stand on business, you know, and discipline, God was like, it's gonna pass. It's okay. It'll be all right. It's in his hands. And I said, wow, I had a peace, a calmness, like my child is in his hands. I don't have to worry about it.